Trump's coming in. He's going to save everybody. Are you ready for it? There we go.
And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday.
Alaska.
I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was.
You're going to Alaska, sir. That's ours. They sold it to us a long time ago. So is it nasty and dirty? Yeah, kind of. Certain areas are. Absolutely. Certain areas are, you don't want to go there. Just like East St. Louis. We used to joke, man. I went to St. Louis and we tried to get our cab guy back for Uber to take us to East St. Louis. That's where, if you guys don't remember, I'll remind you guys. And this isn't because it's depressing, just because it's hilarious. Remember Vacation, the movie, when they got lost in East St. Louis and they asked him if you could tell him where the freeway was, and he told him to go blank his mom. And then they robbed him. Yeah, that's East St. Louis.
Wow.
Yeah. Not a good thing to say, by the way. And you're not going to Russia. You're going to Alaska. I want to remind everybody of that. And this is what the left will say. Well, crime is down. Certain crime is down, yes. And Stephen Miller came out there today. This is more dangerous than Iraq. It's not more dangerous. Trust me, you'd rather wander through D.C., as bad as it is, than Iraq.
Yeah, there's not IEDs going off in Washington, D.C. that I know of.
No, there's not. So it's not as bad. There's plenty of other cities that are awful. But D.C. is our capital. And it is gnarly, and it is nasty. And they've got to do better, and they haven't done good for quite a long time. Since I was a kid, there's always been a joke about D.C. being so gross. My buddies, well, I do my other show, and it actually, so I do it out of here, right? I've got, not here, but my home studio, but our headquarters are in D.C., and they'll tell you stories about where you go, where you don't go, why it's so important to have specialized parking to get into certain things. Oakland is pretty bad. Like I said, Oakland lost an In-N-Out burger because of the crime. That's insane. Where they tell you things like, don't lock your doors on your car so people won't break your windows. Leave the trunk open. It's probably best because, well, you know, that way people don't break into your trunk and then you have to get that fixed. That's insane. That is insane. So we'll see what happens. Do I like having the feds roam the streets? No, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not. I don't know how bad, you know, like the latest crime thing said the crime's down 25%. That's always a bit of misleading because so many places now don't even report crime. It's not even worth it. It's not. Your car gets stolen. The last 2 times we went for my son's hockey tournament in California, we drove from Phoenix to Orange County for one, and then the other one we drove to the Inland Empire, which is the original Valley of the Dirt People. The Inland Empire, our car got broken into, and then someone stole my mom's van. And my mom's van specialized because my little brother's in a wheelchair and everything. The next time I went for him, we were near Disneyland, Anaheim, decent area. Somebody broke in, stole all of our stuff. This is what's crazy. We were moving up to our room, and we came back down, and our doors were wide open. Everything was gone. We didn't report that. What are we going to report? They're not going to do anything. So that's kind of misleading about the crime statistics. If you stop prosecuting crime, arresting for crime, and people stop reporting it, doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means people are frustrated with it. Meanwhile, Trump is going to deal with the Pooter, which should be rather interesting, to say the least.
The Ukrainian president is left on the sidelines of this week's meeting. Several European leaders, including France, Germany, and the UK, issuing a joint statement insisting the path to peace in Ukraine cannot be decided without Ukraine.
Yeah, it's always been a land for peace thing, and that's what it's going to be. They're going to get a decent amount of certain areas. They're going to get what they really wanted originally was they wanted to have that by the Black Sea, that warm water port And they've got that now. The problem is Ukraine's destroyed most of their vessels. So you've got a port now, and you don't have a lot of ships. And they're going to get a few things, Ukraine, but it's not going to be what they want. But before they sign off on anything, there's going to have to be okay, if I sign off on this, what is my guarantee that America and the West is going to protect us? Okay, you're not going to let us into NATO because you're not going to do that until Pooter's gone. So you don't let him into NATO. Okay, that's fine. I got no problem with that. What now is the recourse if the Pooter decides 3 months from now after signing it, nope, we want more? Well, there's got to be something in there and something a little bit more ironclad than what we signed in 91 or 92 when they said, hey, you guys should give up all your nukes and we'll protect you just in case. And we're like, yeah, we're behind you 100%. Then it happened. We're like, that was the other guy that signed that, not us. It's going to have to be something else. It's going to have to be us, the West. Like, you're going to have NATO behind you if this happens. Now, if you invade them, that's a you problem. If you attack Moldova, that's a you and Moldova problem. But if the Pooter jumps and tries to take more, well, then we're behind you. If he does that. That's a big if.
The president has already suggested any deal would involve, quote, swapping of territories, something Volodymyr Zelensky has made clear he will not do, saying Ukrainians will not give their land to the occupier.
Yeah, you're going to have to. You're going to have to give us some of it. And certain areas of that place, let's be real, it was Russian speaking in certain areas. It's a nightmare. And it needs to come to an end. The amount of people dying on both sides is ridiculous. And Trump's got an opportunity here to go to Alaska, sir, not Russia, and put some pressure on. Because the pressure that's come from all of his sanctions, those pressures were kind of, they had a war economy, so it's been strong. Your war economy's strong. You were able to overcome a lot of what the fear was because you had third parties that would purchase from you and either sell it on somewhere else, or they would just outright purchase from you for their own, like India. If we put pressure on them, that is going to force those people to make a decision. Are you with us? Do you want to be a part of this, the biggest market on the planet, or are you against us? We need to know. And so this is going to be an interesting situation to see how they can make this, work. Because I think if Trump leaves on Friday to Alaska and he comes home and he doesn't get at least some movement towards something, I think he's going to go harder after India and several of these other countries. If there looks like there's movement, then you have to sit down and talk to Zelensky. And I don't know how.
Well, and Zelensky's not going to come right out and go, "Oh yeah, I'll agree to all that."
Yeah.
He's got to play his cards close to the vest, but he knows he's going to end up having to give up something.
Yeah, and he said that because you need to. You're good. It's always been a land for peace deal. Russia's, not just the whole thing about NATO and the fact that NATO's encroaching onto, Russia and their sovereignty or whatever that they're always worried about. This is also something that he feels, these guys get this stuff in their head and they think they're destined for something. Putin's always said that the falling apart of the Soviet Union was the greatest disaster in world history. And because of that, he's got this belief that he can reunite the best bits of it. And that's also he's thinking legacy and wackadoo. They all think legacy. They all do. They all think legacy. And he thinks he's going to be able to reunite some of it, even if he's got to take it inch by inch, by inch by inch. And that's what he's doing here. So it was always going to happen.
He went in. It's been 2 years, and he thought this war was going to be over in 3 days.
It would have been had America not handed them so much stuff.
But Ukraine is actually
they're pulling the triggers.
They're not just holding their own. They're getting some pretty serious licks in.
Yeah, no doubt. And the other thing is if it's taught us nothing is outside of their nuclear weapons, and who knows what those really look like. They're a paper tiger. If they had to go up right now against Poland, Poland would absolutely curb stomp them and then head straight into Moscow. And by the way, for you not keeping score, Poland is itching to get payback. They look over and they see the Germans and go, all right, you guys are coming too. And they look over and they see the Russians. We owe both of y'all a little can of whoop ass. And Poland has been the one throughout this entire time that has spent a ton of money on their military. Those guys are trained to the hilt, and they're ready to roll.
Well, and I just remember early on in the war just seeing those convoys of tanks and other Russian military assets stuck in the mud. Couldn't go anywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Had Ukraine had any type of elite air force, they were sitting ducks.
They were sitting ducks. And what did they do? They learned how to adapt using $500 worth of drone stuff and some explosives. They've turned this into a war that it's almost World War I, where it's like house to house, area to area, from one backyard to another backyard. But he's right. Because we wouldn't give him anything. We wouldn't give him, they had a small Air Force, but it was nothing like the Russians had.
Right.
Remember when they blew the Russians with their Air Force, 2-3 months ago with those drones?
Yeah, took out, a third of their so-called stealth bombers they had? Something like that?
So that was brilliant. So it'll be interesting to see. It's the first step, and I think at some point in time, there's going to be peace. Zelensky's not going to be thrilled 100%, but as long as he's got a guarantee that we will back him should something else happen, I think he'll be okay with that. Now, what does that mean? I don't know, because we were supposed to back them, back in 92 and 91 when they signed the, hey, give up all your nuclear weapons. And if this has taught us something, kids, don't give up your nuclear weapons. If you get them, keep them. People are less likely to do things to you then.